Everyone talking about how rad the new Godzilla movie graphics are, but let's talk about the first time we saw this. Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Akorn, and today is Friday, which means it's time for Gen X and Millennial Memes, where we remember all the things we didn't even know we forgot about. If you want this series to continue, please enjoy this video to the end, hit that like and subscribe, and share the laughs and memories with your family, friends, and social media. We have some good memes and memories today. But first, here is today's pop quiz. What was the first home video game console to use interchangeable cartridges? If you think you know, drop it down in the comments. Then stay tuned as we'll give the answer later on in the show. Yes, I had breakfast. The breakfast. Yeah, I usually don't eat a whole lot of breakfast. How about you guys? The Berenstein Bears. Goldilocks breaks in. Guess we're gonna teach her a lesson this time. If you grew up playing this, you need to schedule a colonoscopy. I can hear this picture. I think every family had this clock. Yeah, I had one almost exactly like that. How many of you knew that June of 2025 marks 50 years since the Jaws was first released? Ahead of Memorial Day, island braces for Summer of Jaws. Visitors streaming out of Steamship Authority ferries and Vineyard Haven this week will likely notice a gift shop window clustered with apparel commemorating the 50th anniversary of Jaws, the 1975 summer blockbuster classic. And speaking of Jaws, how many of you knew that in July of 1987, Jaws the Revenge was released? I didn't even know that there was a second Jaws movie. I don't know how I ever missed it, but I just never heard about it. Parker Brothers brought us Smess, the Ninny's Chess. Do any of you remember this out-of-print board game from the early 1970s? Drop it down in the comments. In 1975, Kodak engineer Steven Sasson built the first digital camera, capturing images without film. Fearing it would harm their film business, Kodak shelved the invention, a decision now seen as one of tech's history's biggest missed opportunities. Yeah, most of today's technology advancements is actually built on the foundation of the technology that was actually created in the 70s and 80s. Of course, if you're talking about the original computers, they stretch all the way back to World War II. Walking into the Scholastic Book Fair with $20. Yeah, I bet we would have felt that way back in those days. TikTokers. Me. The grandfather clock became an iconic part of the Captain Kangaroo show, especially memorable for its prominent role in skits and segments during the 1950s. This charming clock was a fixture on the show's set and added to the warm, nostalgic atmosphere that defined the program. Yes, they did make one, not Photoshop. Ford did make a Mustang wagon, the Intermechanica, a concept car. This one shown in River Edge in 1973, courtesy of vintage Bergen County. Just another little interesting piece of history. I bet we all would have loved to have these kind of station wagons to ride around back then, while we sat and look out the back window. You know you grew up in the 80s if you remember.
Sit, Ubu, sit. Good dog.
That is very true. Core memory unlocked. My mom still has a couple of these. One day you went to Blockbuster Video to rent a movie, without knowing it would be the last time. That is actually true. I'm telling my grandkids this is the Terminator and Sarah Connor. That would actually be kinda funny, but Short Circuit is a great movie. After school in the 80s. The glory of owning Diamondback, Harrow, Redline, Hutch, Mongoose, Skyway, or Dino in the 80s. I had a red BMX, and I rode it everywhere. 1970s Story Records, complete with read-along books. These were our indoor entertainment before VHS players were invented. I had some of these when I was a kid, but instead of the full-size records, all of mine were 45s. Adulthood is straight up the worst hood I've ever lived in. They're not wrong. Here is an early 1970 globe showing East and West Germany as well as the Soviet Union. How awesome would it have been if we could have built something like this back in the day? You have to admit, this is pretty cool. The ill-conceived and little-known Type 2H VW Airbus was Volkswagen's attempt to penetrate the rotary wing aerospace sector in the 60s. Underpowered and therefore slow, not unlike its road-bound counterpart, competing designs blew the doors off VW's attempt. The only surviving example, Flight Test Vehicle 2, is seen below undergoing restoration. FTV-1 was destroyed in an in-flight fire when the number 4 cylinder tie bolts lost torque and released hot gases into the engine compartment, igniting oil residue, which was always present in and around the overworked air-cooled power plant. It was overworked in a VW bus. I sure as heck wouldn't want it in a chopper, although it is kind of a cool piece of history. Speedy Gonzales was banned by Cartoon Network for being an offensive stereotype, only to be returned after mass protest by the Hispanic American community. There was one of my viewers that said something in the comments to the effect that Speedy Gonzales self-deported, but he came back legally this time and got his U.S. citizenship. You get an Uber, and this is your Uber driver. What are you guys talking about? I'd be telling him if he got a DeLorean, he'd never be late again. Some people remind me of old TV sets. You have to hit them a few times until they get the picture. With some people, it's gonna take more than that these days. The two-wheeler is a WLA 1942 Liberator, made for the U.S. Army in World War II. You don't see many of them anymore.
Instead of texting "here" last night, one of my friends knocked on my front door, just like our ancestors used to.
That's just kind of sad, guys. It's even out of date to knock on somebody's door. A tree fell on my fence, making the best of it while I negotiate the repair. I think that right there is an awesome idea. And the fact that they put quotes around dog makes it just that much better. Cartoons was an automotive humor magazine in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. Each issue came with 2 iron-on decals and a how-to-draw lesson. I learned to draw cars growing up with this magazine. Today's pop quiz question was, what was the first home video game console to use interchangeable cartridges? If you said the Atari 2600, you failed. 0 points. But if you said the Fairchild Channel F, then you get 100 points. A+. If you failed today's pop quiz, then your punishment is to watch at least 3 past episodes. Or you can share this video with everyone in your contact list and on social media. So there's your punishment. Sorry guys, that's just the way it is. A photo from the 1970s of Seabreeze Amusement Park in Rochester, New York. No one tells you this, but the older you get, the more you look out your house windows. This is actually true for some reason. Back in my day, the struggle was real. You think it was hard to store CDs and to carry them around with you? Try cassette tapes or even 8-tracks. It's 12 noon. 70s and 80s kids will remember. You still can't beat a good tomato soup and grilled cheese, especially on these cold, rainy days we've been having. Here it's supposed to be spring, and instead, we've been having fall-like weather. How's the weather where you guys are? My parents had a TV like this. I remember because I was the remote. I've started a paid website called Older Fans, where people come to see what injury I have and how I got it. That's just kind of messed up. I'm positive many of you will know exactly what this is. Yeah, ChatGPT is asking Chuck Norris a question. She couldn't speak, but she knew how to say "I love you," just like he taught her. I bought my husband a new wallet probably 5 months ago. He has no desire to switch over to it yet. The left is his current wallet. My dad has done the same thing. Men, is this a universal thing? Do you have a hard time giving up the old, faithful, falling apart wallet? A woman should appreciate a man that doesn't discard things just because they are old and wrinkled. I just had to include this one here on the channel. I thought it was pretty funny. However, it's also pretty true. I did finally change over to a new wallet a couple years ago, and the only reason I did is because my old wallet was falling apart, and I was actually afraid I could lose something. My old wallet was only about 10 years old, but it wasn't very well made. Most people are at the age where they are using their phones to document the good times in their lives. I'm at the age where I use my phone to take pictures of labels that I can't read, and I use my phone to enlarge the print so that I can read it. Yeah, that is true. I also use the phone to take pictures of stuff just so I won't forget it. Michael, 2035. Without naming the TV show, what's a quote that would give it away? Just one more thing. If you know, drop it in the comments. So the legend says that the M from MTV originally stood for music. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago. If your television went off air every night with the Star Spangled Banner, you grew up in a great era. Okay, children of the 80s, what's missing here? Well, first, there's no dish on the coffee table full of candy. Second, I don't see any wood paneling. What else do you guys see missing? If anybody wants to know why Gen X is always mad, it's because we had to replace our record collections with a tape collection, that we had to replace with a CD collection, that we had to replace with an MP3 collection, and now we need a subscription to listen to music. It actually has been pretty ridiculous, and the worst part is how you need a subscription for everything today. And although, by the time you guys see the show, this one here will be late, however, I'm still gonna end today's show with this. This long weekend of barbecues, friends, family, and freedom, brought to you by those who gave all. To all of our military veterans and your families, we thank you for your service and for all that you have sacrificed.